Imagine running 100 miles on broken legs. Sounds insane, right? Well, that's David Goggins for you. The man who turned pain into power and shattered every limit society, or he himself, ever set. Today, I'll share the lessons from his electrifying book, Can't Hurt Me, that can transform your life. And wait till you hear about the cookie jar. It's not what you think. But hey, before you skip, ask yourself, what's the last excuse I gave for not being my best? This video might just wreck that excuse forever. Ready to embrace the grind? Let's dive in. David Goggins didn't grow up as a superhero. In fact, his childhood was straight out of a nightmare. An abusive father, poverty, and relentless racism. By his early 20s, he was an overweight exterminator, spraying for cockroaches, hating himself every day. Sound familiar? Maybe not the cockroaches, but the feeling of being stuck, right? But one day, something snapped. He saw a Navy SEAL training program on TV and decided, that's who I'm going to be. Crazy, right? A man who could barely run a mile, deciding to join the elite forces? But here's the first lesson from Goggins. Your mindset shapes your reality. If you don't demand more from yourself, life sure as hell won't. And let's face it, most of us would have turned the TV off and opened Instagram instead. Goggins? He turned his whole life upside down. Here's a brutal truth. Most of us quit when we've only used 40% of our potential. Think about it. Whether it's studying for exams, hitting the gym, or chasing dreams, we stop as soon as it gets uncomfortable. Goggins calls it the 40% rule. When you think you're done, you've barely scratched the surface. He tested this rule when he entered his first ultramarathon, a 100-mile race. By mile 70, his body was breaking down. Kidney issues, shin splints, and even internal bleeding. Most people would have tapped out. Goggins? He pushed through. Why? Because pain, he says, is just weakness leaving the body. Now, I'm not saying you should go run 100 miles tomorrow, but next time you feel like quitting, ask yourself, am I really at my limit or just at my 40%? So, are you a 40%er or are you ready to go all in? Lesson 2. Callous your mind. Just like your hands toughen up after lifting weights, your mind needs to toughen up through discomfort. Goggins calls it building your mental armor. For him, it meant waking up at 4 a.m. to run in freezing weather or jumping into an ice bath after a brutal workout. For you, maybe it's something smaller, like finishing that boring assignment or waking up early without hitting snooze. Start small, but stay consistent. Every time you choose discomfort, you're stacking bricks to build an unbreakable mindset. And trust me, the world isn't kind to fragile minds. Think of Goggins during Navy SEAL Hell Week. He was pushed to the absolute brink, wet, cold, sleep-deprived. But he endured, even when others quit. Why? Because he built mental armor long before he needed it. Now, this one's my favorite, the accountability mirror. Goggins would stand in front of a mirror every night and call himself out. Overweight? He'd write it down and fix it. Too lazy? Write it down. It's not about being harsh. It's about being real. And that's what most of us avoid, isn't it? We love sugarcoating our flaws. Goggins says, stop lying to yourself. Own your weaknesses and attack them. So tonight, stand in front of your mirror and ask, am I being honest with myself? If the answer's no, it's time to change. When things got tough, Goggins turned to his cookie jar. No, not the one with actual cookies, though I wouldn't blame you for that. His cookie jar was filled with memories of past victories. Every time he doubted himself, he'd reach in and remind himself of all the times he'd overcome the odds. We all have our own cookie jars. Maybe it's a big exam you crushed or a time you stood up for yourself. Hold on to those wins. They're proof that you're tougher than you think. So, what's your excuse? Goggins transformed his life from rock bottom to unstoppable by embracing pain, smashing limits, and holding himself accountable. If he can do it, what's stopping you? Start small. Push past your 40%. Callous your mind. Build your cookie jar. And tonight, face your accountability mirror. Before you go, hit that subscribe button for more life-changing lessons. Share this with someone who needs a wake-up call. And remember, you're only as strong as the excuses you destroy. Until next time, stay lit-wise and stay unstoppable. Be uncommon amongst the uncommon. David Goggins.